Hey, what's up guys, it's Renaldo here. So this video is going to focus on Gillian Schutte once again. Now, if you don't know who Gillian Schutte is, just click on this link right here and watch this video first before you continue to watch this video over here. So just so that you have context and I don't have to repeat myself. But welcome back. In essence, what this video is going to focus on is just the hypocrisy of Gillian Schutte, and I'm going to use her own words so that you can understand who Gillian Schutte is. Now, the best place to start is what caused this whole tiff between a lot of people and her, and this was her post in response to Charlie Kirk being brutally assassinated. So as you can see here, it says, maybe your God wanted her to grow up a decent human being unscathed by her father's bigotry. So not considering the fact that the family could see this, or, that people are mourning the loss of somebody that they respected and loved, the fact that she has to make it about herself and making it about her cause is just a clear example. Now, I know in her opinion piece she writes that she was responding to somebody that was this or that. It doesn't change the fact that you said what you said here. And this was intended to be a blow to the individual that you responded with. But what I just want to point out is this word bigotry that you use over here, right? Because there seems to be a lot of name calling and words being thrown at people. So bigotry, right? The definition of bigotry is an obstinate or unreasonable attachment to a belief, opinion, or faction, in particular prejudice against a person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular group. Right. Now let's go to your piece that you wrote, which is Assassination, Grief, and the Manufacture of Innocence. And let's look at the very first thing that you wrote. As long as whiteness exists, white supremacy will stand as the greatest threat to human dignity, to peace, to the well-being of the earth. That is the quote that you used in the very beginning. So as long as whiteness exists, white supremacy will stand as the greatest threat to human dignity, to peace, and to the well-being of the earth. Now, let's go back to bigotry, shall we? An obstinate or unreasonable attachment to a belief, opinion, or faction, in particular, prejudice against a person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular group. So needless to say, I think that you actually qualify as a bigot, just based on the opening line or quote that you use there. In any way, she goes on and describes, what happened to her, and then defended herself by why she said what she said. She mentioned my name here. That is why I mentioned this. And in essence, let's read this. Into this manufactured scandal, by the way. Manufactured. The fact that it wasn't her being called out for being insensitive to somebody dying and celebrating that a daughter will never see her father again. No, apparently it's manufactured. Renaldo Gouws, he declared on X that I had said it was good that her father was assassinated for disagreeing with me. Well, let's have a look at this. Maybe your God wanted her to grow up a decent human being unscathed by her father's bigotry. Would you, in your own words, consider that to be a good thing? Yes. Yeah, I mean, of course you would, because that's the way that you wrote that. So don't come with your bullshit. And then added to that, of course, is saying that, and repeated the distortion on his podcast as proof of my alleged cruelty. It's not alleged. You were cruel. You were cruel. It's as simple as that. This was not an error of interpretation, but a calculated falsification in his telling. The context, the racism of Benway's post, the violent theology, it summoned the reason for my reply, disappeared entirely. What remained was a caricature designed for outrage. You see the multiple words used here. What I said is, it doesn't matter what was said before. The fact is, you said what you said. I'm holding you accountable. I'm not hosting an anonymous or holding an anonymous person responsible for the shit that they said. I am holding you responsible for what you said. And that is what you said. And what you said was insensitive, and what you said was uncalled for. Now, it goes on and how, and yeah, thanks for the clicks, by the way. Thanks for everybody that is watching that clicked on that link. But it goes on, and she mentions Adam's roots and just how she doesn't take any responsibility for the stuff that she said, and now she's obviously the victim. All right. So it should come as no surprise that Gillian Schutte will not take any responsibility for the words that she uttered, whether it was verbal or written, doesn't matter. But then again, Gillian Schutte has a fantastic track record of applying stereotypes of white people and then assuming that everybody is exactly that way. It's quite ironic considering that Gillian Schutte has created this grift where she defends black people and proclaims white people to be the most evil thing on planet Earth, but she doesn't see her own racism in it. You know, because that is the definition of racism. It is when you take the action of one individual and then you apply that to the entire race. So because one white person did something bad, now it means that all white people are bad. It is just sickening that she will stand on a pedestal and talk about how black people have gone through all of these things and she knows what the definition of racism is, but yet she does exactly that to white people. You know, because white people in 2025 are the same as white people in the 1800s, in the 1600s, in the 1400s. It just doesn't make any sense. Yes, I understand that terrible things have taken place in the history of mankind under the watchful eye of white people. Adolf Hitler was a white person that did terrible things, right? But what Gillian Schutte doesn't seem to know is that there are also terrible Chinese people, black people, colored people, and Indian people that did terrible things in the past. But she will magically ignore that. Now, if you think that this was just a once-off of her saying something terrible about Charlie Kirk, then I will gladly direct you to this basic question that I asked Grok. And the question was, list the top 10 worst things that Gillian Schutte has said about white people, either where she stereotypes or gives her personal opinion. Neutral question, and she said, and Grok said, be grateful that you are still welcome in a land that was stolen. Great. White people, please just shut up for once and listen. Whiteness is always sure of one thing: superiority over other races, particularly the African race. White is right, even in a so-called rainbow nation. Now, all of these, what I will do is I will share this and post it so that you can go and check that this is actually her words and that it isn't me implying the things that she said here. Of course, you need context, so I would highly recommend that you go and check it out. But I mean, you know, you can see by some of this that it is literally just statements made to offend. Number 5, I call on white people to get over their fear that black people are out to slaughter them in a wholesale genocide of revenge. Like, who's all white people? Do you really think that all white people think like this? It's just insane. Just get over yourselves. White people of middle class are still safer than people living in townships. By renaming them poverty and unemployment, laziness, lack of ambition, and stupidity, you are furthering your own illogical delusions that whiteness has nothing to do with the untenable conditions that most black people are forced to live in. The white folk that populate this class most often secretly believe that black people are not nearly as learned as themselves and that they lack the type of leadership skills needed to run these institutions. When did she do these opinion or polls? You know, when did she do these polls to find out that that is how most white people think? Empathy for the black body has intentionally been bred out of whiteness, as this serves to maintain the status quo. Rather, whites are taught that black body must be feared, disciplined, reviled, and kept at a safe distance from pristine whiteness. Who are these white people? And here we go. And stop bitching and telling black people to get over their history. God damn it. If those things had happened to white people, there would be an entire world domination film industry built upon the legitimized suffering of white people. So why will you not understand that colonialism was a holocaust of epic proportions, and it will take many, many more decades for the pain to subside? Alright, so she's talking about the film industry here. I would just like to know, what happened to Odwa Ashweni. You could tell us whenever you're ready. I know that you've written some opinion pieces just alluring to Odwa Ashweni, but maybe just tell us, considering that you were in the film industry, tell us about Odwa Ashweni. I'm not going to go more into that, but I'm just absolutely flabbergasted that somebody like Gillian Schutte still has a platform in South Africa. Not really though, if I'm honest, because it is anti-white sentiment. If we had to have a Gillian Schutte that showed anti-black sentiment exactly to the same level as what she is doing, that person would not only not have a platform anymore, but that person would probably have been in jail by now or would have been killed. It's as simple as that. You can speak as much shit as you want about white people in South Africa, but the moment you just raise concerns about some black people, not black people in general, because most people that speak about black people realize that not all black people are the same. They're not racist. They don't see the world the way that Gillian Schutte sees the world with regards to white people. I'm just amazed that Gillian Schutte in 2025 can still stereotype white people as if, it is this one entity, this hive mind that knows what one person out of billions are doing. It's like, at what point do you realize and perhaps consider that every single race in the existence of mankind has suffered? White people have suffered. Black people have suffered. Indian people, colored people, Asian people, everybody in the history of mankind has suffered. Black people aren't special when it comes to suffering. Go and Google white people suffering, white people slavery, Chinese people suffering, Chinese people slavery, etc., etc., etc. It doesn't mean that I don't feel bad for what happened to every single racial group that has suffered, and have content to the people that committed it. I watched the movie 12 Years a Slave, and I felt like I wanted to climb through my TV and literally cause serious harm to the white slave owners. But I also realized that even if that slave owner had a child who 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 had a child, and they are living in the here and now, I can't blame that person for the sins of their great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. I can't do that. Gillian Schutte, unfortunately, doesn't have that ability to go, perhaps it's 1% of the white population that is evil. The other 99% is actually quite decent human beings. No, she can't, because her grift is to do this. This is how she gets popularity. This is how she gets clicks. This is how she probably makes her money. Now, ultimately, all I want to say is just don't listen to Gillian Schutte. Especially if you want to get a neutral view of what is happening, not only in South Africa, but around the world. It is quite clear that Gillian Schutte, in my opinion, has gone through some rough shit in her life. And I'm not here to judge. But all I'm asking you to do is stop talking cuck about white people as if every single white person is the same. I just truly hope that with the Overton window finally shifting a little bit to bring things just more to the center again and not to the insane woke leftist side, which it has been for the last 5 years, that we will realize that we don't actually need voices like Gillian Schutte to tell us how we should feel about one another. Because if we had to listen to Gillian Schutte, we would hate each other even more. Gillian Schutte doesn't want us to move forward as a united nation. She wants us to be divided, because as long as we are divided, she can continue to write these opinion pieces, charge for appearance fees, write books, produce films that divide us. because that is her grift. Her grift is to keep you angry so that you can buy her book, so that you can watch her movie, so that you can listen and read her opinion pieces. Stop giving her attention. And with me, that starts right now. And that's pretty much all I got to say. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to smash the like button. Please be sure to subscribe. Please be sure to share this video far and wide. And if you support me and you support this channel, please consider becoming a member. You can do so by clicking the join button below. And that's all I got to say. Till later, cheers and peace out.
You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say, I wear my massacre. You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say, I wear my massacre. I wear my massacre. You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say, I wear my massacre. I wear my massacre.